connections to her. Many of us started as her students. Many people were her co-workers. Many people, knew her through other venues. Many people grew up with her. Only one here today, but we all have great memories and associations, and Britt meant a lot to all of us. So we, Chris and Deb, who are hosting this is their school. Chris in particular started when he was very, very young as one of Britt's students, and then went on to run his own school. They're hosting the space. These are all photos that Britt's sister passed on to us to share with everyone. And she didn't stand a lot on ceremony when it came to being proper with Taekwondo and technique. She was a technician, and everything was by the book. But in life, she had a lot more acceptance. And one of my favorite stories that I want to share is a time I had trained with her and had been away at college, and then had come back for one of the summers between college, and I hadn't seen her, in months. And autopilot, I think Master Vitols, I ran into her, and automatically was like, "Ma'am, good to see you." She just slapped my hand away and went, "Oh, stop that, give Auntie Britt a hug." And she has been Auntie Britt ever since, and she has been a tremendously influential figure in my life for 3/4 of my life. And I know that everybody has many, many stories and memories and their own, touchstones that speak to them of Britt. And so my hope here is that we will just share stories, share camaraderie, share our appreciation of Britt, have some food, walk down memory lane. Many of the photos are martial arts based, mainly because that's what we, had the most access to, but please don't feel like you need to keep any memories martial arts specific. She had a much broader life than that and a much broader reach. And we all loved her. Today would have been her birthday, so it felt an appropriate day to celebrate her. And my hope is that everyone will just connect, get to know one another, and share. And it was also decided by Britt's sister and Deb and Chris and I. She, as you know, was a prolific competitor. If people would like to have a token, we've kept aside some touchstones that will be on permanent display here in the school to honor her. But the left side of the table, there are many, many competition medals. And her sister is not a saver, does not feel inclined to hold on to physical tokens, and agreed that it would be meaningful if people who wanted some tangible remembrance of Britt to please feel free to take a medal with you to keep if you wish to, but no obligation if you don't. And then one final formal thing that we wanted to share before we just kind of move on into sharing memories is that Chris was in touch with Britt's instructor, and it was unanimously decided between him and the only other two 9th degree black belts that she was on deck to get her 8th degree, and they decided to elevate her and award her posthumously her 9th degree because of her life and dedication. And so this is her new certificate, which will be displayed here along with her uniform and some other photos and memories. I just want people to share and support each other, because Britt, I know, supported all of us in many, many ways, and she would want us to be the same for each other.
Can we at least get anybody else's name? Because I'm like, some people came to me and they said who they were and they recognized me. I didn't recognize them. I'm like, I might know people here that I don't even know I know because it's been so long. Can we at least do our names?
Yeah.
Can we maybe say where we know her from too? Like,
Yeah, whatever. I just figured. I'd like to know, because I'll be embarrassed if I leave here and there's people I haven't connected in 20 years. They were
Well,
here
and
today.
it was an interesting observation that Fiona said to me too, that we recently connected to each other only because of our common connection with Britt, and how she had this vast family of friends and fans, and that a lot of us, unless we ran in some of the same circles, didn't know each other. We only had our own common ground with Britt, but we've gotten to know each other since, and that's been really meaningful. So I'm Autumn. I have trained with Britt from the time I was in middle school, and I maintained a lifelong friendship with her. Ever since she slapped my hand away when I re-greeted her, she has been Auntie Britt ever since. And I really considered her, a true auntie and good friend. And let's move this direction.
Sure, I'm Robin Suarez. She was also my Auntie Britt, dear family friend as well as instructor in Taekwondo.
So I'm Louise Farinell, and I grew up from my white belt at County Academy with Britt, who was also a white belt, and we got our black belts together at Donnelly's school. And then, but there's an auntie in us too, because she made things for my kids when my kids were born. So she was auntie to them. But I have a lot more stories, but I'm Louise Farinell, so if you know me, please come up and see me too.
I'm Dave, Lisa's husband. We started, like I said, we started training all about the same time. With County A first, then back to Donnelly's.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. My ears are not brand new.
Oh.
And I have the hearing aids in, I do. Could everybody just project a little more? I don't wanna miss anything. You're welcome.
My name is Brenda, and I also met Britt. I started at Donnelly's. She was also my instructor, and I was there 2.5 years before I left. Yep. And I, of course, knew Lisa and Dave there, and we stayed friends for all these years. She would come to my house on the weekends once in a while, and
I am her son.
tell my story.
She used to come over and snack all night. We cooked for her. My favorite story ever is my mom always used to pass out early, so Britt would stay up and watch a little TV on the couch. And I walked out from my room and saw her just sitting there on the couch drinking a soda. And we must have spent a good hour to an hour and a half just talking about random stuff that, I never thought I could have a conversation with a random person before. I was kind of an introvert, so, helping open me up as a person is one of the great things that Britt did for me as an individual. She was really good at that part.
Very comfortable.
I'm Sue Arbogast. This is my husband, Mike Quadruto. Britt was a fellow martial artist, peer competitor with us in the 90s. We were from the Montpelier Karate Club, originally Mike Caribou's school, who's down the line here. And Britt and I have been friendly acquaintances for 40.
Cause you look familiar.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta be why.
And the other thing about Britt I just wanted to say was she helped me tremendously in the 90s with my strike back self-defense program. We did a lot of work together in the Burlington area with visually impaired and hearing impaired. Very supportive, and she was great.
Now, the only thing I can share is, I knew Britt mainly from our tournaments that we went to, and when we started going to tournaments, we were just, baby belts. And Britt was already a black belt, I believe. And you don't really engage with other competitors unless they're in the division. But when we were competing as black belts, Sue competed in forms with Britt several times. And then when Sue learned this form that our instructor had showed her, she was cleaning up. She was placing first place almost all the time. And the first time that she and Britt competed together, once she learned that form, after placing second, third, or off the podium, previous to that, so the first time she this form against Britt, they swapped. And when Sue's scores were read, Britt knew that she was in second place, and that's how it ended. And Britt came over to Sue and with this wry grin on her face said, "Congratulations, bitch."
I don't remember that.
Just every time we competed.
Our other half tell these stories that we don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
I just remember because it was the first, she was more approachable to me. And then, you know, it went from there. Like, she helped us with our self-defense course after that, so that's it.
Well, Britt and I started at IBM on the same day in the same group, and we stayed pretty much in the same area. So that was 36 years ago. She was about 29 and I was 50 at the time. We just always stayed close. We Facebook back and forth. If I needed help with something, I'd let her know. If she wanted to know where there was a good place to do something or other, she'd ask me. 2 years ago, or a little more than 2 years ago, my husband was in pretty bad shape. And I wrote and asked if I needed her, would she be able to come down and help me through a day or help me through a night? And of course it was yes. I couldn't believe that she was gone. I can see how it happened. I just miss her. Your turn.
Okay. My name is John Blott, and I've known Britt for 34 years now, and I was Britt's IBM husband, her work husband, and she was my work wife for many, many years. I have lots of stories, I can't tell them all though. But she was somebody who always had your back. Loyalty was important to her. And I say my Brit-isms have even carried on to my kids and their significant others, and they don't even know who Brit is. They'll say, like, that's a Britism, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, it is. So, thank you for putting this together today. Like many, I was shocked when I read it. I couldn't believe it, you know. But I know that a piece of Brit will always be with me, and now also with my kids, and I'm sure that piece will live on.
Go back to Donnelly's in the 80s. I used to be a guest instructor at Donnelly's, and the only story that I have is that a few months ago I was trotting out some egotistical shit. And
Wait, what's the name?
Huh?
What's the name? What's your name?
My name? Dick Pat.
Okay.
To what?
Yeah, I know.
I was trotting out some egotistical shit, and Britt said,
Some language, kind of like, wait a minute, I know this person.
you know, he said, you know, Dick, it's not all about you. It's the only time she was wrong.
Well, I go back a long ways in my history, back mostly in Vermont when I came back, that when we started our school, that we went to tournaments and we competed with Britt and Edie and my school, and I didn't get to know her very much there. She was just another competitor, very good competitor. And about a year ago, she friended me, and we went back and forth, and she told me the different things she was going through, all the different things, and she was a very, very strong person. I was really impressed, and to hear everything that everybody said today is just reinforcing of that thought that she was much more than what I knew, besides a strong competitor. And makes me sorry I didn't know her better. But anyway, it isn't like she didn't leave her influence on people. So, you'll always carry that with you. Thank you.
I'm Mike Felber, and I relocated here in 1987 and lived in an apartment down off Shelburne Road. My next door neighbor was a guy named Joe Donnelly. I met him in the parking lot 2 days after I moved in, and he'd already met my wife at the time. And I said, "So I understand you teach Taekwondo?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "How do I see how it goes?" He said, "Here's my school." So I went there on Tuesday night and signed up as I left. And that was 1987. I'm still doing it. I'm up in Hardwick now. And one of my first senior black belt instructors was Ms. Vitols. Her and Edie Robenstein were the two who taught most of the classes. When I got my first dan, Britt said to me, "Don't stop doing this. You've got a way with you that the young kids haven't learned yet." I was 34 when I started doing this. And it became kind of like a motto for me. She was there for my first, she was there for my second. And all she ever did is cheer me on. And I've talked with her every now and then, not very often. Like Mike said, I wish I had spent more time with her, but she was just a great person, and she was my inspiration. And that's what's kept me going for 30 some odd years.
I'm also Mike Felber, 2.0. When he had started Taekwondo, I was very young, and I watched him. I'd go to classes and watch him on the sidelines. At the time, I lived in New York, and I'd come over and visit. And when I came over here to live, I was like, I want to do that. And like you said, I had actually met both Master Robenstein and Master Vitols, like in a couple of classes, and I watched them just kick ass, and I was like, that's amazing. Like, look at them, they're just whooping everybody. And I really wanted to do it. And then I started, and the few times that I had seen Britt in classes, she was always very positive to me. I started the tournament scene, and I remember vividly my first tournament where I actually had won gold at the very start, just before I had gone through all my fights. I noticed somebody sit in my coach's chair while I'm going through my first fight, and as I turn around as the round ended, Britt's sitting there. And if anybody has seen Britt fight, you know that fire in her eyes, and she is sitting there looking at me going, "You're gonna kill them all." She goes, "You got this, you know this, right? You're gonna beat them all." And she did that, and I destroyed them all. And it was great. She was there, just my back and forth. She goes, "Don't give up, don't do this, don't do that." Like, she was just a very positive influence. And from that day forward, every time we saw each other in class, we'd laugh, we'd talk, and I'd ask her questions, because I knew she was also a very good fighter. And just then through life, as I grew and started doing other things, we would run into each other. We worked at IBM together. She asked me to help her help a couple other people's schools together. As I started training in other martial arts, and I would show it, she'd stop and be like, "Show me that you punch him. I want to see what happens." She was always very curious as to new things. She was always very open-minded to other stuff, and with working my daughter and just life, it was always great to stop in, catch up with her and do stuff. She was just a very awesome person, and I had just the last year, I had kind of lost track of everybody because I work in the healthcare industry. So the minute COVID happened, all 240 hospitals that I worked for needed stuff, and I just lost track of everybody. And I was thinking of her often, and unfortunately, that's what I got by the text. So it is unfortunate, but I can just say that she was one hell of a person, and she definitely touched all of our lives. So.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I didn't know Britt much in life. I only knew her for a very small part of my life, and at least a small part that I can remember. And
one of the few things that she used to watch me when I was much younger. I would always bounce off walls, and one of the only things that stuck with me since when I was still that young was the first time I ever watched her compete against another martial artist, and it was like watching a switch just flip. And it was just, she was just this grounding, controlling presence, and I have her to thank for my entire interest in martial arts as a study. And she was always just a very grounding person. She was there to talk to when you needed to. I can't say I knew her much. I don't have many stories of her, but even that little amount of time that I spent with her just had a massive impact on me.
I didn't know Britt a great deal on a personal level, as many of you have, but she was one of the first teachers of Autumn and our Autumn's late brother and Connor's uncle. They were amazing. The whole class was just amazing, and I would come and I would watch and I would be impressed. And when there was some studying done at Donnelly's, I was able to come with some family, and I always had enormous respect for her, but I didn't have a great deal of personal time with her. But by reputation, I've had such admiration for her forever. I often had regretted I didn't start martial arts when you and your brother Glenn did. But I had just started a strong interest in theater arts, and I did pursue that, and I just, I couldn't do it all, but I'm kind of still sorry I hadn't, because my body wasn't all broken like it is now. I have replacement parts and things, so it would have been foolish to begin again. I would be popping things out of their joints forever, but I had such a respect for her, and she was so giving. And can I tell the story?
The goat story?
Not
Which
the
story?
goat. Oh, the goat story.
Oh.
I'll tell the goat story.
I think I now know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, when my son Glenn, the family member of us all, he's up there. He was an excellent martial artist, and he began to develop illnesses that required. Well, it's all one situation. He needed to be in hospital a great deal, and it came a time when he couldn't go up and down the stairs of the building where we lived. And I had been looking around for a stair climbing device, that someone who was sitting, or usually in a wheelchair or something, would go up and down. And so I was looking for it all. And one day this young man came and said, or he called and just said, "Look, I've got this thing for you. I've got it, and I can bring it up there." And I said, well, great, yeah, bring it up. And I asked what it would cost, and he said, no, actually, it's free. We have a whole new shipment of new models coming in, so we're just offloading this one. And he knew I wouldn't give up. I said, oh, come on, let me give you something for gas. And so he said, I think he knew I wasn't gonna quit, so he said, well, okay, well, $25 would be fine. But he resisted and resisted and resisted. And that machine got Glenn out and about into appointments and stuff, which he couldn't do on his own. And I went by the place where I had looked at the machines, and I told them that they had the most wonderful client or worker working for them, and did a really good job for our family. And they said, what's his name? And I told them, I don't remember now. And they said, no, I'm thinking it was Doug, I don't know why. No, not now. And I said, well, there must have been before, because that was a few months ago or something. No, no, we've never had that person working here. And I went, oh, okay, they must be new. And I didn't pursue it anymore. But then I learned that Britt had made sure that that machine was bought, and it was supposed to be very private and secret. And I didn't know that until you had published it in Facebook after she passed.
After she passed, I figured
After
we didn't
she
have to keep the
passed.
secret so much anymore.
Wow.
And I look back, and I still choke up about it. Even though we didn't see a lot of her, she was looking out for Glenn, and certainly looking out for me. So I figured if you could share it in print, I could share it here, people who know her. So that is one of the most memorable memories I have of her, and she wasn't even present.
Well, I'm Donna Warren, and I started high school with Britt, so I've been with her since freshman year in high school. We did a lot of sports and things together, and then we went on to IBM together, and she's been with me through a lot of different things. The loss of my daughter, where I was pretty lost for a while, but Britt always had a way of sneaking out there and dropping off a little gift on my doorstep to try to cheer me or just let me know she's there. So I will always remember that. I got to see a fun side of Britt most of the time because we did a little bit of, we used to go to Saratoga. That was a big deal for us to go to the Travers every year and spend the weekend over there, us girls. And Britt got pretty nervous around big crowds and didn't like going up and doing the bedding. So we always had to sit in the morning for breakfast and do out all of our bedding and stuff for her, and I would have to go do it for her. But she was always so fun. She also was there to help my oldest daughter with martial arts. She never was able to get me into it because I just said, Britt, you're with me, you got my back. I need to do it.
Exactly.
Anyways, I always felt quite safe with my friend. And this is all, like you, has been a huge shock. You know, we weren't the kind that had to be together every week or anything, but I always knew she was there. And I guess that's what's so hard right now is I don't have her there. But we've been friends for a very long time. She's been to my house frequently, and we've done a lot of things together. Like I say, most of it has just been fun. And I do know martial arts was a big part of her life, and you were her family. I feel very fortunate to have been a friend, and I felt like family with her. But, if you were her friend, her family, you're very fortunate. She was a great girl, and she left us way too young.
Yes.
So,
God, I've known Britt for 54 years. We met in middle school when I was 11 and she was 11 and a half. My birthday is 6 months after her birthday. So we always had that to go on, you know. Happy half birthday, you know, try to get whoever's birthday it was would try to get the half birthday first so that, you know, who was greeting who first for happy birthday. And, man, I've always known she was kind and loving and giving, but when I see and hear all the stories that I've heard since she passed away, it's just like amazing to me. I've lived and moved all over the place, and she's always stayed here, and we've always stayed in contact with each other. And so I always knew she was doing all this, and I admired her and bragged about my friend who had, you know, a black belt and blah, blah, blah. I don't know anything about it, so like her, I didn't need it if I had Brett. She and I grew up together. We were little girls together. We had apartments together. We graduated high school together. We graduated high school together. There's a picture here of her and Britt. I found it and I said, look, it's Donna. And I turn around and there's Donna. But anyways, she was just amazing, phenomenal. I do have one question. I know she had cancer. I could not get away from where I was at the time. And she had people who took care of her. I'm amazed not to see those people here. Did she go through that by herself?
No. She had a whole network of people.
I figured as much, but I
was on call.
I so regret not taking the time to get in my car or fight on a plane and come see her to Renetta. That's one of my regrets from my friendship with her, but that's it. She and I had a great friendship, and I was reading through all of our stuff on the internet this morning, and you just start crying and getting crazy. But anyways, I miss her terrible. I keep wanting to call her up or text her or message her or something, and then I remember I can't do that anymore. So, but she's a dear, dear friend and good person. So, I think I said to somebody that it's amazing to me how far she went in Taekwondo, because she was such a meek person, such a mild-mannered, not a show-off, not a I gotta be first, not a anything like any of that. And
Unless you're competing.
I was gonna say, unless you're in the ring with her.
That's what amazes me about this, hearing everybody, that she was a fierce competitor, and I'm like, wow.
We did this, the demonstration at UVM one time, it was 4 of us, and it was a pattern, and you all had to meet up in the middle, and did the routine, so it had to be choreographed. So Britt is so darn tall, and she put there with her sidekick, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm much shorter than you, I can't touch that hard, so I have to do a little hop skip. So she was competitive, and she wasn't gonna let down for anything. Not for demonstration. So, yes.
Yeah, it just is amazing to me to hear all these stories about this fierce Brit that to me was always my gentle, dear, mild-mannered friend. If ever there were in a situation of people or anything, I had to go first, and she'd be behind me, and I'd say, you do it, you tell her, you get the money, you do this, just like her. Okay, I'll do it. She was a good friend. I miss her terribly. And this is my sister, who knew her, but not like I knew her.
The last time I remember, she was at my wedding.
There you go.
And they were just, much younger than me, and they, well, not old, but anyway, that's the last time I saw Britt. But Cam always talked about her, and I would ask about her, and
Right.
she was one of her friends, so.
That's all, folks.
I wanted to tell you, that Britt let slip one day to me that she was bodyguard to Governor Cunin on special occasions.
Oh, cool.
And I wasn't supposed to tell anybody, but Gloria was her good friend in Taekwondo and at IBM. And I let something slip. Gloria hadn't even known that.
Wow.
There's quite a few of you from IBM. There's 4 or 5 of us and them.
Basically, I'm hoping that people will just partake of food and mingle and continue to share stories, and just know that, Britt is a huge part of who we all are, and we have this common ground and this common appreciation. And Britt was always there for all of us in a lot of different ways, and I hope that we can all just honor her memory by being there for each other as much as we can, because I think it's what she would want.